Now the Gibu Chimpi Lam Rimba, a Lo Jiangsu, that you work is in the Mako Zubaro. What in Zadang Zugi, Azile, Simja Tamjiki Dundala, and a Casa Kuri Dungale, Kuri Dungatada, le Drogo Wars, Jizangazo, Simja Tamje, Kuri Dungal, Nardu, Kuri Dungatilla Tago Wars. Tis not a Kuri Dungal, Tarba, some Yitiki, and did some Yitiki Mares, Tizandelia, and Kuri Dungal, Tarba Yinaya, and Yomo Chazan Panyo Mare, Diva Chazan Panyo Mare, and Topji Toyagi, and then Chazan Topsario Mare, Chizasan Yokoban, Togo Wars. It's San Yoko to Korea, it's not that Simja Tamji, San Yoko to Korea, it is not that Tabachim Biki, Tabachim Biki, Yamlin Jake, got on body Kawas, Tabach Jaju Sim said the Chagor, Simja Tamji, San Yoko Toba shows, and somebody Jaju Sim. That the Jaju Sim be Simbi Tone, down to give you to be a Tabachim Yamlin Jitashiko, the Nina, Alcasin, the Gor Maj, Chicosus, Sugarwa.
Good evening. So last week we started to have a look at the trainings of a practitioner of greatest capacity. The practitioner of greatest capacity has not only given rise to an unshakable determination to be completely free of the sufferings of cyclic existence in their entirety, but they also have taken upon themselves to ensure that they lead all sentient beings without exception, all beings who too are tormented by the sufferings of samsara, to a state of liberation. But in order for this practitioner here of greatest capacity recognizes that in order to be skilled enough to be able to guide beings, they themselves need to be perfected so that they can be a guide of perfect quality. In order to become a perfected being, the mere attainment of liberation is insufficient. Whilst the attainment of liberation ensures that one will never suffer again, one's faults on one, and thereby one's faults on one's continuum have been greatly reduced, as well as one's good qualities greatly developed. One's good qualities are not yet perfected. And the faults on one's continuum, whilst all the afflictions together with their seeds have been eradicated, the stains of those afflictions remain. Therefore, someone who's liberated is not yet perfected. Therefore, the practitioner of greatest capacity strives not just for their own individual liberation, but for Buddhahood, the state of perfection, and thereby has generated bodhicitta. And having generated bodhicitta, they engage in the variety of activities and trainings of a bodhisattva. So that's what we looked at last week.
Tarba Tobainea, and Sanjo Madonna, Deni Tarchingo, Mares, Randoya Tarchama, Shania Tarmachin Pares. This is Danga Shendu Randuin Tarchimba and Shendun Tarchimbachi or Regere. The Randuin Tarchin said, Rangi Dunda Tarchin de Cares no Susu Yumo, Diva Basha da Jeba, Meba Bangu or Dima Babana, and Benumoba, Unjua, the Yumo de Bawaina, Yumo Begi Basha de Yema Babana, the new Bangu Bayak Hadu, Yun Hadu, Yun Chasameva Susayama, and the Randuin Tarchimbala, Ranyu Yumo Basha da Jeba, Chasam Bangu or Ege. 나 안에 소소라랑 그 신고얘기 연된 차상 토부 거다. 지상 연된 차상 마토바지도 누 신고야 나 롭정 제고야 하려 봐 있는 라된 타 마침 바로 와. 지상 라된 탈신 발라 최탐 정어슴도 더 탈신 비시디 ngazuge 남kin데 토부 거래스. 지상 녀모바 디바 바샤다 집에 빵바 좀 빵고 거래스. 지상 소소 유규 디바 바샤다 집에 차상 매바스 규인 차상 세 되네 안최담 정원숨도 또베 타르친 얘기다 델레 하바 신고에 메시비 신고에 차상 신바 있나 다 탈지 메시 토바 있나 다 라된 탈신 바레스 인디니 마토바나 라된 탈신요 말해서 그래 그래서 라된 탈신요 말해서.
Moreover, last week we looked at that a practitioner who achieves liberation from cyclic existence, whilst this is phenomenal and they will never suffer again, they haven't yet achieved their own benefit completely, let alone the benefit of others. So in terms of their own benefit, whilst they have achieved the state of liberation, and one does not want to deprecate this phenomenal achievement, in achieving liberation, they have been able to eradicate all their afflictions together with their seeds, but not yet the stains. The stains of their afflictions still abide, and they still need to be removed. Moreover, whilst tremendous good qualities have been cultivated in the attainment of liberation, those good qualities haven't yet been developed to the state where they are perfected, or the level where they are perfected. And this means, in order to bring their good qualities to perfection and eradicate all faults completely in their entirety, the training of this practitioner is not yet complete. They have not yet finished their training. It's only when they attain this level of omniscience, the omniscient consciousness, where all phenomena are realized completely, unmistakably. Only then, with the attainment of omniscience, is training complete.
안지 현대인 되스에 제투를 전에 판도 갈아가서 제투를 때 현대 탈침바 제투고 말았어. 현대 탈침바. 지산 현대 탈마침 바디 탈친나 가르고 그랬으네. 근데 현대 제발에 심지어 탐지기 된다라 판바두고 그래. 심지어 탐지기 동아세야다 디기 주야랴 판바두고 그러와. 대 주야라 안에 하다 미다 안지기 되러다. 안지기 냐와다 심지어 빠도 매버 여봐서 차상에 된다 두고 마땅하지 미자야게 된다 두는데 심지어 탐지기 된다 두고 말와. 그래서 디네 인상 다 안에 할래야 최대발라 안에 지게 론주소비 구세의 상이 론주소비 구세의 고토고 오래 마땅하지 도고 오래 디네 마즈 미다 디네리아 안에 두돌라서 봐 최대발라 마즈 미다 두돌라서 비게 론주소비 구디 제투 말와 제 마도 버자 다 두고 제투야게 디네 주비 구세 두고 오래 제사 상이 론주소비 구다 주비고 주고세야 돼 니니디 주고 오래 제산 니니 주베 토네 다 현대 안에 제 개침부 주야 돼 니니가 토네 주고 오르와 디네인사 다 준비기 되고 잠토바 잠기 론저소부 구야 두고 말에 되네 주비 구야 두고 말에 마도바 인자 아니 현대 개침부 주고 말에 세자 현대 탈신야 말에 세야 돼 디시고래.
Therefore, a being who has achieved their own individual liberation, whilst it's a phenomenal achievement, they haven't yet fulfilled their own benefits completely. And when one turns one's focus to others, such a being who has achieved something quite remarkable has actually only had a very minor impact on others. And this is because there are still so many beings lost in the suffering realms of samsara, whether it's in the 3 lower realms or the so-called happy migrations. There are beings there without knowing without a guide leading them to liberation, without having generated even the slightest of mental path. So therefore, a being who has achieved their own liberation, whilst their own benefit has been achieved to a large degree, the impact they have had thus far on others is limited, and the impact that they can now have on others remains limited because they still have the stains of the afflictions, and they haven't perfected all good qualities. So therefore, in order to be able to achieve the benefit of others, Buddhahood has to be achieved. Because as we looked at last week, when Buddhahood is achieved, in that instant, the 4 bodies of a Buddha are achieved, and these are for one's own benefit as well as others. For one's own benefit, one achieves the Dharmakaya. For the benefit of others, one achieves the Sambhogakaya and the Namanakaya. It's a Sambhogakaya that can benefit that can benefit beings in the God realms, and the Namanakaya is required to benefit all other beings, some other classes of gods, but certainly humans and those in the lower realms. It's only a Buddha who has these 4 bodies, and therefore it's only a Buddha that can help beings across all the realms, and therefore, for the benefit of others, Buddhahood is indispensable.
고디 초그 주시오래 될이야 안 지우 초그 주시오래 되네 우리 죽도록 여봐다 안 찬성 뭐 숨지 잔이디 여봐다 차상 초그 주시오래 대단한 저기 나 되네기 멤버 개와 주시오래 다 여름 체다 되네기 주 라구디 디길이야나 개와 주시오래 개와 주고서 가서 미 계속다 준비 계획이 도스는다 초그 쪽에 남바 멤버지 되네 구이 남바 된제 아주 타마비기 아주 미나지 지부지양으로 남바 된제 안에 지 개와서 준비 개와 시제 현재는 구들라 초그 쪽 개와 주고 세워래 안디 멤버게 한지 코두코두랴 아니 개와래마 코두코두 주바 된제 주네 아니 지 주바 된 구충구로 내가 소주고 세워 소주고 소주고 세워되는 소주고라고 그래. 지난 되네기 개발래마 코두코두 빼나가 주와 지게나 코두 지게롱아 남바지 주야다. 대 지감은 되는 주바되는 나비가 산지 구충고로 대소리야 안 소주고래 그래. 지난 초그 주고 아니 구주비고 될 초그 주고 다 개와 주고 다 소주고 세네. 어데 내내기 지난 심증의 현기 된 제발라 가브리엘이야 초그 주고 남바돼. 가브리엘이야 아니 개와 주고 남바돼. 가브리엘이야는 소주고 남바돼. 아니 전전 주고 인자 아니 노스체네 아니 구들에 되네게 차상 아젠는 주비게다 되네 고고로와 되네서다 구 주비고 구세야 될 릭미도 숨치고래. 소주고 아니 아니 이제 맞는 거야만 제시하신.
So the four bodies of the Buddha, they're two that are form bodies, that of the Sambhogakaya, or the enjoyment body, and the Namanakaya, the emanation body. So then the Namanakaya, within that there are several different types. There is the supreme Namanakaya, and this an illustration or an example of a being that is a supreme Namanakaya is Shakyamuni Buddha, who came into the world in the full supreme emanation body form and turned the wheel of Dharma, newly presented the Dharma in the world. So that's one type of Namanakaya, a supreme emanation body. A second type is one that takes a form identical to ordinary beings, so that they are born into the realms of ordinary beings and are amongst ordinary beings, looking, and for all intents and purposes, looking identical from an ordinary being, but they are an emanation body. So, for example, His Holiness the Dalai Lama, he has taken the form of a human being, and his form is indistinguishable from that of a human being. And this is done so as to benefit those who do not have the merit to meet a supreme emanation body or a Sambhogakaya. So His Holiness is an illustration of a Namanakaya that is born into the realms of beings and takes on an identical form. And then there's a third type, which is called an artisanal emanation body. And this is a form that appears instantly whenever they can help in a particular instance, and then will no longer abide. So the type that is born into the realms, such as His Holiness, they are born, they grow up, they age, and they live an entire lifespan amongst humans amongst beings as a being, and in the same way as the beings of that realm. Whereas the other type, which I don't remember in English, I think is called an artisanal form, artisanal emanation body. So they appear and disappear as need be. The Buddha emanates in this form wherever the need is. So these are then three different types of Namanikayas, of emanation bodies. The supreme emanation body, that which is born into the world, and the artisanal emanation body.
Niba chasang yonsu tsokpa chiko gore. Chisa dini enza da rangduen yonsu tsokpa da jimne kushi segele, kushi dina, nan dina kushi na diruwa, owa nigo da ishi chugo che, longo da zhugu se dina diruwa, kushi chagro. Chisa di kushi top na, shengi duen chayala, simchiga dunga saya da digi dhubla, tungen chasang rangliya changdi yor da, kanga shengi duen dhubya, kanga gyuni merwa da, dini enza di changwa chiko gore. Di ma changwa ina, zuge shengi duen dhubya la, kabri li dhubtuwa da, kabri la sosogi dunga ni, tungen ma changwa tuwa na, dhubma tuwa kanga di shen duen, Gyatso dhubtuwa ma res, di enza da, sanje kopan, chi topwe bi gyumtsen de di si korwa.
So, someone who attains liberation from cyclic existence, they do not achieve the four bodies of a Buddha because they are not a Buddha. And thereby, their ability to benefit others is greatly impeded. Whereas, in the instant of being attained Buddhahood, they achieve the four bodies, the two mental bodies and the two form bodies, and thereby are able to immediately be of benefit to beings in the form most suited. So here, when a being attains Buddhahood, then the mental bodies are said to be for their benefit, and the form body for the benefit of others, in that it's a form body that emanates amongst beings. With the emanation body, the enjoyment body, the Sambhogakaya, teaching in the pure realms, and then the emanation body, the Namanikaya, amongst ordinary beings. And here again, we have those three types, and I've got the proper translation now. The supreme emanation body, for example, Buddha Shakyamuni. The incarnated emanation body. So that is the type that is born into a realm amongst beings, such as His Holiness. So that's called an incarnated emanation body. And then that third type, the artisan emanation body, which instantaneously appears to be of benefit, and this artisan emanation body can appear in any form, even a form that is not of a being. So wherever a need is and the karma exists, they can the emanation body, the artisan emanation body, can appear in even a form that not of a being in order to benefit. So these are the ways that Buddhas can help, and a being who has merely achieved liberation is unable to. Of these three types of Namanikayas, the supreme emanation body, for example, Buddha Shakyamuni, only appears once in the world. The merit for such a being to appear is very rare. Whereas the other two types, the incarnated emanation bodies, those such as His Holiness, as well as the artisan emanation bodies, these appear in the world as frequently as the merit it requires. And so therefore they are innumerable incarnated emanation bodies, and a single Buddha can emanate innumerable incarnated emanation bodies and artisan emanation bodies, though the supreme emanation body only once.
Then Jambalin Pigua, Chesna, Dada Kiwa Jamba, Liulia, Shudio Reshere. Chesna, Dada Kiwa Jambati, Kiao Chukuruche, Kiao Chukurese. The Mambana Zambulan Peneda, Dinashin, Sanji Jimden and Ashin, Jene, go up to you with Sebachasan Dunja and the Sanji Petseva Dungore. Did you do that? Kiwa Cho to Kuki number Dungore. Chesna that Dinigi Krongi Tempatilia, then I chose to Jima Dungo, which is a Sanji Relia, Zambulia Cho to Peggy, Sanji Madungo Mare.
Buddhas only appear once as a supreme emanation body. Buddha Shakyamuni, he appeared in our world in such a form 2,500 years ago, and he will be helping beings in our world and other worlds now, but he will be doing so as an incarnated emanation body and an artisan emanation body. And after his teachings have been extinguished in this world, and eventually the causes are created for a new supreme emanation body to appear in our world, one will come. And that is predicted to be Buddha Maitreya. Buddha Maitreya right now, he is abiding in a God realm, benefiting beings there. And throughout the universes, he will have incarnated emanation bodies and artisan emanation bodies, all helping beings. But only once will the merit be there for him to appear in the world, turning the wheel of Dharma newly as a supreme emanation body. And that will be in some time after Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings have died, and then the causes exist for Maitreya then to appear as a supreme emanation body.
The San Yoko Tober shows and be some of the Sem said, or this in it, that the Yam Gulegi Dandala, the Tavachimichi, Yam Kosu Yadit in the Yakuzu.
Those who've entered into the doorway or passed through the entranceway into the Mahayana Dharma and have thereby generated bodhicitta in their continuum and are counted amongst the children of the Buddha as a bodhisattva, they have as their goal Buddhahood, and to express that differently, their goal is to achieve these four bodies in order to be of great benefit to others.
I didn't matter. That's Sanje de Yang, and the Rani Yang Beach Minji, Simjan Tamji, you don't do Yawashi Gwidi. See the down on the Simjan Tamji, the San Yokoban Topo Shores, a bitch, and you sim gear or Chisan San Yokoban Topo Shores, a bitch, and you sim gear and do that. San Yokoban Tobadi, Rani Yang Beach, Sosu Jibu de Namaja, Soso Dunga Tada, Jayata, the Utuagi, Dijibu Mares, Chisan Rani Yang Beach the Mares. And then Simjan, they might not Simjan San Yokoban to which is San Yokoban Topo Shores, but San Yokoban Togoedi, Rani Jibi to the Mina, Caridonda Relana. Simjan Tamji, Simjan Tamji Dungale Jaje, Simjan Tamji Dungale Jaya, Tarba the Tamji Kimoko Go water. Tis a Simjan Tamji Digi Druada, Simjan Tamji Dunga Seala, Sanjoko Togu, Dinza, Simjan you don't do which to incident. Simjan Tamji you don't do Nyawashuguti, Sidu, tis a Simjan Tamji you don't dala, Nasanjoko Tobachi, Udu, Simbe Samlamado, Nara, and the Jige. Guen Chasan Sierra, Yunda Chasan Tobiaki Dondala, Di Dona San Yoko Toba Show, some Bessamlina, Di Janju Sem Check about Edge. Di Nigga Samla Juna, and Di Tone San Yoko Totu Mares, Chisna Di Janju Sem Mares, Chisna Janju Sem said him. Simjangi Dondala, Simja Dunga said, and Di Yudu Dondala, and San Yoko Toku do some bit on the Yavasko.
Now let's turn towards the text. And we're near the bottom of page 31. So in the final paragraph, moreover, do not think to gain Buddhahood merely for your own benefit. This is a key point. If a practitioner has given rise to the determination to be freed from liberation and has seen the great benefit that will come for Buddhahood, seeing that they will have achieving Buddhahood means all good qualities are perfected and even the stains of the afflictions are removed, and thereby, with this as their mere motivation, strive for Buddhahood, they will not enter the paths of bodhisattvas. They will not generate bodhicitta, because their objective for becoming a Buddha is for their own welfare, their own benefit. So this is an important point in that to become a bodhisattva, it's insufficient to strive for Buddhahood. Because if one is striving for Buddhahood for one's own benefit, one's motivation is not that of bodhicitta. Rather, as the text continues, aspire for it purely to be able to benefit all sentient beings more extensively and effectively. So this is the key point that turns the aspiration for Buddhahood into bodhicitta. Aspire for it purely to be able to benefit all sentient beings more extensively and effectively. In other words, in order to be of greatest benefit to others, I have to eliminate even the stains of the afflictions from my continuum, and I have to take all these good qualities that I will have been developing and develop them to the state of perfection so that all phenomena are realized, and thereby I attain the four bodies of a Buddha and can be of supreme benefit to others. I can benefit others extensively and effectively. So again, the motivation for Buddhahood is for others.
아니네. 다 심지어 탐지기 되는 상요고 심지어 탐지기 심지어 탐지 동안 자야다. 심지어 탐지 디기 주비 신 심지어 탐지 고유 동안을 자 된제야. 아니 야 상요고 상제리야. 탈바다 탐지 김고 화로 고고도 신디고 발라 심지 상요고 마토네 탑메도 치 상요고 반 토벌쇼 심베 삼노데 안도 자주 셈 디세디 디네 삼다 고미야데 자주 셈 기야바시우와. 다 데네게 삼노데 요야라 ane ganes kom gure sinda nganzo ko ji ko tu ro ta dang bo de lamza de ne samda ne di samno di chanju sim di ki tu gure besene di kha gure es ji sa dang bo ganes ko tu gure la ne dang bo sam nyamlen che la ganes ko tu gure es ne di so da de ma rang dunga gyatso dunga shin de semjen namja dunga ye na re nyam da ba sha da yin shin semjen nam rang ge phama ma gi ba ji kya mes zine andu sin ne din ma sung gor da So
therefore, it should be clear now that what marks the determination to achieve Buddhahood as the mind of bodhicitta is that one is doing it for the sake of others, and what it means to be doing it for the sake of others, to alleviate them from suffering, to alleviate all sentient beings, without exception, from suffering. So how does one generate this? Hearing this teaching, giving rise to the thought, doesn't enable one to enter the paths of the Mahayana. One needs to reflect on it in a particular way. And returning to the text, it sets it out. So right at the bottom of page 31, just as you have fallen into the ocean of samsara, so have all others. They, like you, know only its misery. There is no one who has not repeatedly been your father and mother.
Kibu Trina Tumowe, Lojawasi, the Tumowe Kabla, the Samatadi Kabla, Karsam Tasandamna, Penny Nyawa, and Jay Nyawa, Ida, Dundro, and the Chimida, Hadami, Leda, Numom, Wangu Kowa, Kawa, Jawalemene, Dungajan Resha, Sembikita, Kissing, and the Denig Samta, Chisang, Sosorang, Tata Bado, Koa, Dunga Kordowadi, Leda, Numo, Wangu Dunga Kordio Resha, Dunga Rashi, some. Denege some died the kissing as a gibu jingy locha that he shared. Da Dinashi, that Simjin Rani, Rang Dunga Gyatso Tunga Shindu, so Rarang, Koyu Dunga Leda, Numo Korakin, Jawa Tomament, that they bado Koa quarter do, Dubanajin, that Simjin Sangma Koyu, Koa Kid, Leda, Numo, Kid, Gengi, Simjin Chasada, comes from Gando Kiawa in the Yobaina, Chasa, Nana Shinda, Simjin.
Let's look at the first part of what I've just read. Just as you have fallen into the ocean of samsara, so have all others. They, like you, know only its misery. So this line will immediately take one back to the trainings that we have been looking at over the last 3 months, the trainings common to a practitioner of intermediate capacity. So this is the link between the trainings that are common to a practitioner of intermediate capacity and where we are now within the trainings that are unique to a practitioner of greatest capacity. So independence on all these prior meditations that one has been engaging in, where one has come to see that every experience one has, as long as it is within cyclic existence, will be in the nature of suffering. There is no rebirth or experience to long for believing that it will be one of happiness, if it is remaining in the realms of cyclic existence, because every experience within samsara is in the nature of suffering. Having come to realize that vividly, without leaving any trace of doubt or lack of certainty, one has given rise to the determination to eradicate the causes of one's own samsara, the contaminated karma accumulated under the influence of our own afflicted minds. So this is what we have already come to realize and are striving to overcome. Now we take this realization and apply it to others, recognizing they are in the self-same state. The only difference is their confusion is so great they do not yet know that there is no happiness to be found in samsara. They are completely blind and lost, but they are suffering, nevertheless, in the same way that I still am.
나한테 데니기 동에 나와 소소 난신 현달에 강가 여바 토베네 당한테 람사 텔이야 안에 지게 잠바다 니지로 기투고 말아 그래서 나가서 동구라 점는 날이야 당한테 주기네 소소가 강가 여바나 점는 날이야 미망보 내나세게 강가 여디게 안에 지게 심지 dunro래 내나세게 강가 여디게 칼라 마르베 강가 안에 지게 니진네 나세게 강가 소소가 도나 마르베 강가 미샤나게 왕유 땅이 왕 땅비 동아 대 동아 망보 장서 통고로 받아가서 하고 그거를 때 이내 가서리아 제술리아 지 잠제다 인지 슈신부터 개투고 말아 돼. 제가 소소가 강아 여바나 신시 통도 통고로 받아.
Even this recognition, based on these prime meditations, does not lead to powerful and overwhelming love and compassion arising within us. And we can see this from our own experience in that right now we know that there are so many humans in our world who are suffering due to the pandemic. So many, tens of thousands right now facing death, as well as their loved ones surrounding them, fearful for the loss of perhaps a parent or a spouse or a child. Moreover, other sufferings relating to the pandemic, people who have lost their work and their livelihood or lost their businesses, and all that they have been striving for materially over their life, all that certainty they've been trying to develop is lost. There are so many facing hunger and impoverishment, animals suffering in myriad ways. So these sufferings we can observe, and whilst there is some degree of compassion that arises within us, it is still of insufficient strength to transform us into bodhisattvas. So therefore, even this training that we've gone through now, with that as a basis, applying it to the situation of others does not give rise immediately to powerful love and compassion.
그래서 데니게 강아 먹고 통배네 당하는 저가 소스 제거스는 단 엘리 강아 두세 통고디나 소수게 동아세나 소수게 디기주야 될 옆에서 숙체지고로 받아 숙체시 된 마도 안 디털이야 저게 제라게 안에 쿨 직제 두고 말아
And this is because whilst we do have a degree of concern and care for others, especially now in dependence on this training and observing the situation, still our mental focus as well as our efforts primarily go into alleviating our own suffering.
Dini inzan da na samlo jangdu kapla nganzo ke ta chanshu sem je ke tonda la nganzo nyamne che thang de la rimba no ma sona ani nyamne che da rimba ni sungore ani gyunje menga tyin sikyu sam ta je ani chanshu sem nyamne ke tabshi jik je ani da shen nyamje sam ta je gom je ani chanshu sem ye ke tablam je tablam rimba mi da ni da lama ko ma nam ge ho le gyubi rimba de ni sungore.
So therefore, one has to train in the correct sequences of practices in order to give rise to actual bodhicitta. And the Buddha presented two methods. The one being the 6 causes and 1 effect method, and the second being the equalizing and exchanging self with others method.
아니 라다 셴세디 야와치고래 자자 띵아 나샤지 되네 니 분자 니세 야와체 한 현다디 어디 니 말에 아니 디서 셴레세 파 야와치고로 자자 디 삼로 여바인 장아 줄이야 아니 디 견지네 아 줄이야 샬야 잠지 숙치 못 내두고 말에 안디만 베게 안디메제다 라다 디멘베게다 되네 자시스탄네 nenzu 기합 샤다 딩안주 미리직 바레스 디 미리카하레스 바야와체 미리 야와체체 되는 파솔 마가와체야다 통초다야 아니 아직 소소기야도 딩안주 기합레 디 콘주 기합난주 기합 말에 샤다 기합레스 아니 디 야와체체 온두체네 야와게 니링기 삼로대가서 숙침부 효여되래 세상 되네 인자 나도 니링게 삼로 숙침부 여반자 니기 견지는 아주기 셴리야 아니 지긴 첨보다 셴이 그린 첨보 임바다 삼 두고 말에 진짜 마토 봐서 나도 담보라 니링디 마 담보 니링디 매봐서 그래 니링 매봐서 와라 가르 공부선 땅님서 공부를 해지래 진짜 담보 땅님 니링 나도 삼로 니링 여봐서 니링니 매봐서 야래야 근데 가르 공부선 땅님서 고수를 진짜 공부를 진짜 담보 고수해야 돼 땅님기 삼로 땅에 되는 마 고수 그래 해지래.
The reason it's so difficult, despite the training we've done, to generate genuine love and compassion for others, even when we can see their suffering manifestly before us, is because we have this sense of othering about people. We feel close to some and distant from others. There's some that we identify with, and many that we don't. So there's this othering we have. And this is the major impediment we have to developing genuine love and compassion for others. And it starts with the sense of self, this I. And in dependence on having this sense of self, this I, we have mine, such as my loved ones, my family, my dear friends. And then this expands further the sense of mine, my country, the people of my nationality, the people of my ethnicity, where we feel, it may not be explicit, but we feel an implicit closeness to those who we identify with. And the fault of feeling a closeness with those that we identify with is that implicitly, we do not feel close to all others. And it's this othering, the sense of near to some but distant from so many, that prevents love and compassion arising within us, genuine love and compassion. And even before that, prevents a genuine appreciation for the kindness of all others arising within us. Therefore, the indispensable first training here Having gone through these preceding trainings, the indispensable first training here is that in impartiality or equanimity.
안디니 장안 저기 ben에 야갑사는 안주 야갑세야다 안디 안주레 셴베 야갑레 삼다도 니린 요반자 강아세야리아 디기 구구네 당보 소수게 야갑데 디기 주나 파조게 야갑텔라 강아 주나 난 가르메 요 말씀 베게 삼로스 리고로와 어두 삼르치 난 니린 메반자 아네 니린 요바 인자 소수 야갑데 야고야다 다 잔다디게리아 안강아 체나다 소수기합디 야가 주는 디기도 셈베 삼로치 리고 제자 셈제 탐절에 차녀 발리 두고 말해 안데 야갑 나로 집어 삼다베네 소수기 초안 데센지레 야가 주는 데센지부디 안에 강아 체나가요 말씀섬 디나신다 소수기 추 레베는다 다 소수기 니에다 분자다 소수기 니엔디게 야부디기 주나 샨다디게레 강아 주네 가요 말씀섬 되지 또 전수는 아주 미사나 레베나 다 미사나라 분야다 판마다 소소요베나 다 디나네냐 소소야 디기치 소소 주고에 된다 주고에디 야고 주고에나 소소 분야다 디솔야 강아 치테베네 가요 말씀 베삼로 디니 리고로 진짜 디다 두수수 삼다 타마들레 소소 디기고에 진짜 소소를 주나 아니 콜라 강아 테나 가이민도 삼비게 삼로실레데 진짜 아주 니링세 디니게 도스천 레제 타메 타줄라 소소라나 지부 삼당데 레교르와
Here in our reflection, it's important to look honestly at ourselves and see where this sense of othering arises and how it arises. And it should be quite clear to us, but we need to go into detail. So on a national level, we can certainly see this, where we feel that this is our country, these are our people, and we feel a particular emotional connection with this grouping. And that means when there are problems within our grouping, within our country, within our nation, we feel for those people far more strongly than when something similar happens elsewhere, because those people I'm not part of that group. They are not part of my identity. I do not identify with that group like I do with this. Thereby, their problems, whilst unfortunate, whilst I wish they didn't have them, they don't have the same impact on us. And this is because of this othering. We are identifying here with a country, a nationality, and thereby excluding others. And it doesn't stop at our nation's borders. We do it in terms of a region, where we identify more with the difficulties of those within our region than the successes of those within our region. And not just within a state, but within a smaller region or within a city. We feel more of an affinity with particular groups, and because of that, we exclude others. And it comes smaller, of course, too, when we look at our family. And some have quite extensive families, but there is a sense of an affinity within that for that family. And that means there are others that are pushed aside. So when it happens to one's family, one naturally makes a greater effort. One naturally feels more for what is the suffering that is being experienced in one's own family than for others, although the situation may be identical. And then, with all these various layers of identity, when harm comes to someone in our group, we respond naturally in a very powerful way, but not when that same harm comes to others. When there's a lack of opportunity to those that we identify with, or a sense of harm, a lack of opportunity or harm being brought to our group, we respond very strongly. But we're largely indifferent to that same problem happening to others. It doesn't impact on us in the same way because we identify with these particular groups as ours, as part of mine, and the others are othered. And thereby, whilst we feel some sympathy for their situation, we wish it wasn't happening to them, the impact on us is very different. And therefore, love and compassion will not arise within us for them to the same magnitude as it will for those we consider our group.
심전 탐질 찍어서 다다 찍부찍이 아니링 매봐 차상 찍었다고 그러거든. 다디 샘디 장고 버려지다 당님체디. 당님체 심전 탐제다 라리아 찍버레스 디야가는 알디 야가레디 두아레서 가이마 차상 찍바인 선비게 삼로지 당님 장고 그래서 다디 자야라 아는 저 당님 자야라 당보 거 간에 수고래람나 당보 다 소속이 냠도 유캔 예홀 유캔 지술야 삼당고레스 다 지난 당번에 섬자 탐제 삼대 강 당토야 갈하고 가서 가서 삼로디 배마세 예링 슈 차고 슈 예대 봐서 파고 장장장장전 매와 지난 당보 장에다 충준이야 장기장지 야차차 당고레스 다 충준 장바이나 당아 지금 미사지외나 미사 나올라 삼다 다 미사외 배나 저기 소수인 예홀의 변념도 유지가 당아서 소수다 미싱아 다 진행하서 대선치가 변념 델이야 삼다자 다디 찍디 nga래 야가래 코 두가래서 가면 찍비찍이 아닌 내 가브리엘라 찍디 nga래 야가 찍디네 나 베네 두가 용시기레스 제가 기디나 찍고 말해 제가 디네서 아니 디가 야가 제소 디가 두가 제소 그래서 가지고 미수미에 배나 미니를 삼다네 나저 송급대데 미찍디 nga래 야가 제소 미찍디 두가래서 라에 마음 그래서 갑 세딜이야 찍디 야가 제베네 찍디 겨왕 마들 nga래 야가 찍디 망고 요래서 제가 롱아망알 야고 제바 다들 세대 다들 로델랑아야 균제지 결혼 야고 지금 생활에 균제신 마가와 제베네 디 롱아마디와 가와 제다 마오바나야 가고 차야 되는 요시기래 제가 디네서 디 미딩이 니디나네 디 야가레 딩알레 야가레 딩알레 두가레선 캬바체지 명할야 지구지기 아닌 스팅이디 당원서 지구지기 아닌 삼백에 두삼다자 소수기 예호들이야 두자 데네 자네든 데니게 삼로디 소소니 호들야 다당 삼로 다다디 다 니링 메바 찍바 찍다 두고요베나 데니게 자야도 아니 간삼 찍려 데네 디 에고 예윤기다 가서 종케르기 미차살야 삼다자 어떤 미 셈제 종케기 미다 디 예윤이베 둔로다 간데시나 디 차사 나 찍부지야 디수 차사 알야 디 야가레 디 두가르스 가이메 차사 찍부지야 예스 미디수기 겨왕 아마디와 가브리엘 양알야 뇌기 가브리엘 양 파야슈 도야레 제가 디두가레 디 야가르스 기네시에 미도스비 데네게 도치네 김제 삼다 제바치 김제 삼다제 아니 고 마주기 네 지바 임바 삼당으로 근데 세델리아 소소 파마체인데 소술리아 베 지야고레서야 돼 세델리아 소소 베 다자냐 다딩 디두가레 람나 다들 세델라 직딩 안서 파마체 안서 야고시부 체레 찍딩하고서래 배 견제 강한테 캔디래 이내 개왕아마라 찍지네 거기다 세들 양아서 강한테 중에 미디 소스가 파마지 세디나신 파마나지 소스를 배 전부 제딩지 세디기 파마데 개왕아마 소스리아 자제 강한테 중에 제번에 디네고 롱아치기 개발을 마도 찍바로 와다 세디기 파마디기 세들 양아서 배 전부 저와 제데 개왕아마들이야 하는 가서래 강한테 막 두부다래 아니 세델 양아서 강아되게 미팅하서 강아데 두고 슈다한테 겨왕아마들 제와 슈셔래 제 전부 슈셔 제가 니니가기 갑질레 전부 제어 갑질레 강아테요래 찍디 갑 니가 갑질레 소소 전부 제바다 갑레라 소소도 두보다 니가 찍바래 디 야가데 디 두가스네 고 약도 셔면지 니가 찍바 자기도 와서 두스는 하는 중에 제바 삼 심주치 제바체도 삼다제네 심제 야 안도스네 예 당념 삼다 안 데네서는 소속이 개합 미디게다 개합 나올로 유베 심제 데네 안에 링샤나 심제 차사 안에 냐와바 이다다 라다미 어디 심제 차사 두스는 김전 삼다에도 데 김전 찍바 차로 그러와 김전 찍바 차도 데네 돈다 찍바 바병으로 와 데네에서 두스 삼다베나 안에 뭐 두스치네 안에 가지고 당념 세야지 참때 되니 심절에 니링 요 말에서 니링 말에 제자 어때 직벌에 투할 야가지고 공알 그거 말해서 콜로 두아 지어야 돼 공알 야가 그거서 콜로 야가지고 가면 두아 되자 직벌에 시작해서 콘솔이야 직벌 따다 직벌 지어가다 니링 매바 당념 지어가다 기 침벌에 샤 선배 선로 들리게 되지
The first step here is to recognize this discrimination that we have within us. And because of our sense of self, we have the sense of an I, we therefore have mine, and therefore if we have I and mine, we have other. So we need to recognize this, because through recognizing that, we can see the fault that brings, the difficulty that we have with generating love and compassion of equal strength to this mass of beings that is other, as we would have to generate for those we consider mine. Recognizing that, we need to train then in impartiality or equanimity. We need to train our minds in this practice. So how to do so? Well, the first thing not to do is to start with an object of all sentient beings. All sentient beings, for us, is really still just a concept. It has no real impact on us. We need to start with those who do have an emotional impact on us. So we need to start with a small group, those that surround us, those that we have the most contact with. So usually this would be the family that you are living with. Or if you're not living with a family, you take those individuals who one is closest to, emotionally closest to. So a small group of say 4 or 5 people. And you start there. And then the meditation is that you look at the sense of closeness you have and distance that you have even within the small group. And you see its fluidity. This is important because we sometimes, even within the small group, feel closer to some and more distant from others, and that changes. And at other times we feel closer to those we did feel more distant from. We need to recognize this truth. And within that, we then look at, is that valid? What is it based on? And we start to see that it's actually based on nothing that we can really say is valid. It's usually just about if they've been a bit kind to us or a bit helpful to us. Nothing more than that. And we need to then make our mind much more expansive and see that actually the kindness that someone shows me today and I require, how can I say that is of greater value than the kindness a different person showed me yesterday? Surely they both are equal in showing me kindness and being of benefit in my life. Therefore, the kindness that someone is showing me today is no different from the kindness that I was shown earlier in my life. That kindness I required at that moment. That benefit I received, I needed at that time. So therefore, that person and this person now, different people, but both at different points showing me kindness and being of benefit in my life. So how can I say, oh, this one is worthy of my care, but that one I can forget about because there's been a passage of time. Here again, using our logic, we see that this doesn't stand up. Then apply that to past lives. Sure, this person here has perhaps maybe shown me tremendous kindness many times in this life. But that doesn't mean going back over lifetimes they were always kind and considerate to me. Likewise, this person perhaps who hasn't shown me so much care in this life, that we cannot say with any validity that that is how our relationship has always been. So here we start to shake up the way we relate to this small grouping. And we start to see them as not being so fixed. Oh, this person is nice because they're being nice right now. This is a good person. They're a person worthy of my gentleness because of how they're relating to me now. we start to shake that up. And we start to see within this grouping that how they're treating me now, or whether it's good or not, actually isn't that important. Over the expanse of lifetimes, on innumerable occasions, they've shown me tremendous care and been of tremendous benefit in my life. And in this way, now with a small grouping, we start to bring some equanimity into our relationship. Then, when that has been achieved, we expand the small grouping, maybe to other family members that we have a feeling of closeness to, but we don't live with. And then we expand it further to our work colleagues, to those we encounter in our daily life, but we do so slowly. I'm just mentioning different groups. But we go through the same meditation process that we did with the one initial group. When we expand it, we do the same meditation process with them. And when we're ready, we expand the group further. And eventually to our city, to our nation, and so forth. So in this way, we expand the group, starting with one, looking at that there is no valid basis within this small intimate group to say that some are kinder to me, some show me more benefit than others. Because over a passage of this life, that will have changed, and over the period of lifetimes, that will have changed. And we see there is no valid basis for discrimination, for holding some close and others distant. And then we expand that out slowly, smaller group by smaller group.
Alright, that didn't on those channels, the Tanyum Chayala, Nambotus Chene, Jango, Resigurada. It's not the some load of Jebachene, Jumzero, some Madana, and the Tanyum Litu Mare. Pene, that Nazugi, that the Cedelia, Social Pamana, Social would be socially Pandochi, Delianzugi, Nazu Yapores and some Dadelia, and Zawaligo, Jamze Chetuya, Gover Murua. Sosulia, Chimaka and Michi Chevena, Yovena, dealing as a Dawaki Madakolia and Jamze some legal Mara, or Yawachunas, legal called Dawaki or Chisan Dawaki over the cousin, queering Arzulia, Yamadu Anzula Panto Yovati and the Maton, said Della that Anzula never hear the quickie, Ganga Java Tori, Mother Yamadu Panto Java, the Maton. Chisan Maton, Colia, Dawaki, Yamatoko, Jamze, Ditugo Marva. Chisan Denizam. Nangazulia, Longamalia, Yabushu, Chejangazulia, Yabushu, Michiki, and Lotelia, Ganazul Kunja, Chegangate, Michiki. That Longama de Michiki, Azulia, Ganga, Teche, Duputa, Gangate, the Teje, and the Lodelia, Socially Chombucha, Sosa Kabushu, Michiovena. They diminity Chorono Suyagares and Jubutavena. That chicken that they are and they call me Yabu love the Horoda. Cousin, and Longama John Diganga shooters on that Longama Ganga Jebare, the Dalo Yawachi that is that China Longama the Ganga Tessos, in that they are watching send the Yapure Samurua. That Chibudian that the Ganga chicken delay out Marasanicas, that the Ganga chicken delay to the Ganga Yaw Marasamura, and Longama John Bear was just on that Yawachi on Lagrua. Just a dingy Suyagare Lamna. Then you get Chibachas on there. Chidigo Longamala Gangatevare, Chidigo della Gangatevare, Chidigo Longamala Sosla Pando Yawachevare, Chidigo Longamal Sokangateve. Chesa Dinisa, didn't you get Chibari shots? Chesa Nachi Sosulia Pandoche, the Nachi Rimbachmato, and then Chibares. Koni Sosulia Gangate, then Nachi Rimbachi Mato, Shin Gangateva, Chibaresha, Pandoche, Chibareshasta, they coin like Keva Mindus, Ruada. On do some time that Dinashin Nazukim, Dangazo Hamogova, the Jawangama, that the Gangate again, the Jawangama Sosuin, Japanto chicken, that Panto chicken in the Jawangama, the Sosale Gangate chicken, then the Yungua, so that dinner some time, Jawangashimongo some time, Chisan some Janganeshina, Dingala Yagares did to us Minushas and Chibarashas and big, some of the delay to Yachagurua. Jumsen some matabana, they let to ya. Tadarang, Jumsen Sosola Gangati, Jumsen Dijibu Samtana, Kolia, and Gangara, Kastawi, some of the Jamses, some of that Rakapurua.
For this meditation to be effective, one's mind has to become very expansive. And for this to come about, one has to use one's intelligence, use analysis, reasons. Without relying on a number of reasons and going over them repeatedly, impartiality will not arise. One's mind will stay narrow and closed. Here we need to make it very expansive. So for us as ordinary beings who are not well developed, it's easy for us to have a feeling of affinity to a group that we recognize, that we consider ourselves to be a part of. And it's certainly easy to feel a sense of closeness and affinity to those that are being of benefit to us, that those who are showing us kindness, either now or in our recent past, where we are aware of this. So naturally, we show kindness and appreciation to those who help us. But this is where we are stuck. We struggle to feel a sense of affinity to a broader circle than these few people. And here then we need to use reasoning and remind ourselves that around all these strangers that surround us, in indirect ways, their daily activities have beneficial impacts on us. They certainly are unlikely to be directly striving to benefit us or to show us kindness, but their behavior has an impact on us. There's a relationship of dependency. We are strangers right now in this life, but their behavior has an impact on us. There's a relationship of dependency. And that's just from this life perspective and who surrounds us. And we can expand this out to the greater group of unknown people who are unknown to us in this life, and how their behavior impacts on us, and thereby they indirectly benefit us. Moreover, so we expand our outlook more broadly around us to understand the indirect ways that others benefit us. And then we also, it's essential, we go beyond this one life and the relationships that we recognize that we have with people now. Because with limitless lives, we have had limitless interactions with others, both direct and indirect, where their behavior has had a beneficial impact on us. Again, they may have intentionally shown us kindness, or indirectly just going about their own normal behavior, that has had a beneficial impact on us. So we need to expand our outlook here, beyond this life. Start with this life, and then go beyond. What we're trying to do is overcome this blindness we have that limits us to just observing the benefits and kindness that those before us are showing us now. And this blindness is so strong, it limits us to forget the kindness that was shown to us throughout this life that we have been aware of, and we forget about these people. So here again, in a new era, we use our intelligence and our reasoning, and we think, someone who shows me kindness and benefits me today, we appreciate that. But is that kindness any more worthy of our appreciation than the kindness that someone showed us yesterday and someone else will show us tomorrow? Immediately we can see that these different instances of kindness are equal. The only thing that differentiates them is the passage of time, today, yesterday, and tomorrow. And we expand that passage of time to earlier in this life and past lives. And suddenly, this feeling of closeness to some and distance from others, we see how it has no basis in reasoning. There is no basis to discriminate. There is no basis to say that some are more worthy of our affection, some are more worthy of our tenderness. So it's using our reasoning in this way that we start to develop a feeling of closeness for all, recognizing that throughout the passage of time, others directly have shown us kindness and indirectly, continuously are acting in ways that benefit us. And this starts to break down this blindness that we have and develop a feeling of closeness for all.
Those in that Danyum Kumya Chaya di, that di Samlo Nala Nyering Mungu Jobasa, Nyering Jobana, Lega Cardina Dranguligo, Nyering Jebana, Chidi Gayana, Chidi Magayana, Lega Chikarchevine, Chik Rogoshena, Sosaga del Rogoche, Sosmaga del Rogomacheta, and the Chikteochena, Sosaga de Chimmaga de Mateata. Gesita Magadile Jebene, that Yagadi, and the Sosogasa just go at the Sosmagasility. On to think Yagacha Madawada and the Chile, which is not nearing you, but she's not nearing the Tangasolia Mampu, Yora Mampu, nearing the Samlona, nearing you by Dikin, Yora Mamboda, Soso Rashan Yiga, Kanga Mambuzi Sugorwa. She's not there nearing the nigger Samlo do I never say Dondala, not Tanyum Gumguri, as you were. Tanyum Gumje, Samlonalia, Simjan Chasa, the Chikbare, Sampiki, Diaga, Didua, Mechas and Chiba in Sampi, Samlo Levena, Tanyum Leo. She's not Tanyum Leo to Bena, and Lagarchevina, Tahucharua, Tahuchagrua, Chile Yagacho, and Chile Duacho, Chichago Marava, Teneza Tanyum nearing the Doeg Dondala. That Tanyum Gumguri, said Jumzen Tambo Horona, Tanganzo Gulape, nearing the Samlo Shuchimbo Shu, Yorvada, Jakapki nearing, Nitsosogi Misangi nearing, the Soso Gavuni nearing, Nerum Shuchim, nearing Doeg Dondala, Tanyum Gumguri, said Adus and Tanyum Gomnadel, Tus and Adus Chene, Tanganzo Tambo Kosuyadi, Yamlin Tabachimpi chain, Yamlin Jeta, Tambo Kosuyadi, Tanyum Tenyagosu, Sera.
Meditation then on partiality starts with us taking a close and honest look at ourselves to see how we do feel close to some and distance from others, to see how we do discriminate against those that we consider other. It's imperative for this meditation to produce the desired result, which is eventually bodhicitta itself, that we look at ourselves with honesty and notice how when there are those in need before us, we are naturally drawn to helping those that we feel an affinity for. And the others, it's not that we necessarily wish harm for them, but we are not drawn to helping them. And this is an attitude very far from that of a bodhisattva. And the attitude of a bodhisattva is our goal. So we need, at the start of this training, to recognize where we are. Recognizing the sense of closeness for our family, sense of closeness for those within our group that we identify with, such as our region. We identify with those from this place, those within our nation, those of a shared ethnicity. Recognize this, and then look to see if it is established on a basis that is valid. And these were some of the meditations referred to earlier, and we'll come to again in the future. And we'll see that this sense of closeness to some and distance from others, there is no valid basis for any of this discrimination. And that then, it opens us up to recognizing the need to develop impartiality, to have the strength to meditate effectively here and use many reasons. And we'll start then to see an attitude of impartiality or an attitude of equanimity growing within us. And we'll start to relate to others in a way that we already relate to those that we are close to. Our feeling of closeness will expand to ever more. And we'll no longer engage in activities to benefit some that have a negative impact on others. And this will have a great impact on our ethical restraint. We will no longer harm one group in order to benefit our group, because this distinction between our group and others will be starting to fade away. So this training in impartiality, is the indispensable starting point to cultivate bodhicitta, to enter into the path of the Bodhisattva, to train in the Mahayana Dharma.
Dini zada tanyum sede, chisa dini ki gyumze samdani de simjen tham je ne chik di chasan chibu chigya yin sabi chikas di ngale yagare san dil dugas kaya me chasan chibu yin ya sambige tanyum samde di ya chik yane yando samda ya chik da yinbi ya para kabrili ya gyumze samda gyumze jeba samda ya dini samda no gyumze di jena di chikdo dini chisa gyumze di za simje chasan da chikpa resha sambige an tanyum remato chasan an dini shirimin che di yagare di duwar sa kaya mindo chasan chikpa re duwa sambe tanyum re sam dini ya samle ya chikom jaya di ruwa ta kaya nga zu ta jeje gom jaya siddhi nga zu samle ya samlo di kyanyang sam taji samdi ta di ka le tanyum samde gom di thaya ki tonda gom se di ruwa ta gom che gidi na samlo di tanyum re sambe samlo di gidi na kye shosho soya ki nipa chimo soya ki tonda la nga zu di tanyum gom se chasan samjen tamje ane nirin mek chasan chikpa chikya yi a sambe ki samlo di terang samdang gom duya ruwa ta di gom ya kabrili ya chik gyumze samdang ane chik chikpa imi gyumze karela ne ane deshin sheba nashin chik kabrili pandoya kabrili duwa che yore chasan dine yinza ten nga zuki kyewa nga zuli kyewa la tokma shio meba yinza chasan kyewa mungpul ya ane pando che mungpul che kanga mungpul chasan chikpa re simpiki dine ki duwa si gomri te ten nga zuki samlo na la jangdo che mato simchen chasan chikpa cha tuya yo marwa simchen chasan chik yagare duwa yagare se niga chikpa cha suya tuya yo marwa dina susu samlo na la duwa jangdo che ba yina ane nimchi nga zu samlo di gidi na simchen su tong yo be na chasan ta chikpa yi a sabi samlo di gidi na le tuya chi so kukura di yung kukura jire chasan dine sa danyon kumya di kye chenpo re che ta dangpo nyamlen che ko di dine ma zu kukura jirwa.
So I encourage you to meditate on impartiality every day now. Look first in the meditation, as has been said a couple of times, starts with looking at how we do divide the world into those that we consider mine and other. Recognizing this, we then need to use reasoning, use our intelligence to come to see whether there is a valid basis for any of this discrimination or not. If you've heard this teaching tonight and you've given rise to an aspiration to be impartial, that mere aspiration is insufficient to realize impartiality, to become an impartial person. But what that aspiration is good for is to start this process of meditation. But you have to engage in these meditations repeatedly over a sustained period, using reasoning. And if one does this meditation repeatedly over a sustained period, using reasoning, you will be transformed. You will transform your mind, will transform your way of thinking. Because our discrimination has no valid basis beyond our own self-interest. We will come to recognize that those that we feel an affinity with, this is because of reasons such as they have helped me today, they have helped me recently. And those who have helped us many times in the past, we've forgotten about them. And if we think of them or meet them, no warm feeling arises. Moreover, many others who have done things which are of benefit to us, we take that for granted. We think to ourselves, oh, they didn't do it explicitly for me, or that was their job, they're supposed to do these things. We take it for granted, but what they've done has benefited us. Moreover, so here we're looking at not just today, but at different periods of our life, as well as whether people explicitly act kindly to us, or if their everyday activities benefit us. We start to break down these distinctions, seeing how people help us in so many ways throughout this lifetime, and then we go back beyond this lifetime. And here we can, with certainty, break down this barrier between, well, this person has done nothing for me, this person has done nothing explicitly for me, this person has harmed me. because over the expanse of lifetimes, we see that it is inconceivable that the relationships we have with individuals in this life are the self-same relationships we've had with them since beginningless time. And in the same way that we cannot discriminate and say the kindness that I'm receiving from one person today is of greater value than the kindness I received yesterday and will receive tomorrow, likewise, we see that these relationships, since beginningless lifetimes, have been ones of kindness towards us at varying points. And therefore, we have had close and beneficial relationships with all beings at different times. And so therefore, there is no basis for discrimination, none whatsoever, not in this lifetime, nor when we take into account previous lifetimes. And so through going through this meditation repeatedly and remembering the synonyms for meditation are developing habituation, developing familiarity with this way of thinking, we'll break down these barriers. And the closeness we feel for some now, we'll start through going through groups, as mentioned earlier, we'll start to feel a sense of closeness forevermore. So the sense of closeness and affinity we have with some, this circle grows progressively and expands. And as that circle expands, when we inadvertently come across people in this expanded circle, we'll feel a sense of affinity for them that we didn't before. And this is how we start to see a change coming about within us. And slowly, through doing these meditations repeatedly over a sustained period, the sense of closeness grows forevermore. And thereby, whomever we're meeting, we feel as if they are our family. They are someone that matters to us. Their welfare matters to us. And this is where we start to notice the success of this meditation.
And the ring as shade that Tanyum Comyagiti, that just not Tanya Simja Tamje, that thing are some time the deed about Damajele, Simja Tamje, that so the Jing on the Gibu Rimgi Lam Jovi Kapla, Simja, Nazuya, Korea Dunga, the Yuan Jatona Baza, the Rang Korea Dunga La Targo Banaji, Simjan Tam, Jo Korea Dunga de La Targo, Simjan Chaza, and the Jet. Leda Numo only Jawa Limpigi, that Lendigan Chazan, the Dunga Rashi, Resha, Dunga de la Targudu, de la Targo, de Zangi, Simja Tamji, Dunda do a Sanjoko Toba, Jodu, Sanjoko Tobu, Sembe, some died. Chitana Sanjoko Tobala, Simja Tanji Sanjoko Toba, show, Sibe, Janju Simding, Gula Majabaina, then Sanjoko Top to Yamin, Chizan de Janju Sim Gula Kiahudu, Chizan Jansu Sim Gula Kiabala, Tamboada, Yamnaja Kodi, that Tanyum said to go to what Chizan didn't Zangi didn't. Simjan Tamje, and Tanyum Kumgi, Samje, and then Tanga to get this Shabanashi, and Simja Kanashine, Tanga to let Tambo, that's also in your heart pass some died in my tarn, then is some died, that's Chasan, Dingal Yagare, Dingal Duar as a kind share, Chasan, Niga Chibuchiga, Sambege, Casana Cabrilia, Nova Kier, Cabrilla Pantova, Niga Gingachimato. And current never get the Pantova Chipare, Chisadineza, Chasan, Yering Yom, Chiquian, Sambi, some time, and Dinale, some not Ayagi. China Cabrilla never get that Cabrilla Pantoche, Yonde, Ine Dangazuki, Lam Yamlin Chipi Cabla, some Shukshe, the Kawatang to Pantochipe, some little Patashin, and Chasangi, Kuangalia, Lotelia, Next. Pando Chemo, Yawanga Mata Pantocher, Mongpanda Panto, she's not Pantoche, something, and Aria Pantoche, but cheaper mother, digging a Pantoche, di Panjinamato was a Guinness, Mechasa, Tangalia Pantova, Chiba in Chasa, some then, and hearing me about those Chenocum, Chesim, Tam, Chica in Mato, Dilia, Chewa, Dil Duache, Kava Chewa, Mindu, some Tache, and those Chenanzuki, and this some of the Yane, Yadu Dene, some that. Chiba Sembiki, some of the do some tongue and compare Zichi to some Tadiata, and the Gabriela Gimte, some da, Ayaji Delia, gimza samtawe chel ya semja tamche tanyu chikya ya sembe nyergini me sembe samtaje zejido gomje duche nanga to gomya di chagro wada diringa zo nyamnen che de samta de ga tanyu ko samta de she ne je mane de din ma mo de she she.
So to summarize tonight then, this meditation on impartiality is of utmost importance. So what I'd encourage you to do is continue to doing your meditations in the way that you have been for the last few months. Starting, you generate refuge, then reflect on the sufferings of samsara, seeing that the root cause of all suffering are the afflicted minds, and give rise to this determination to abandon the afflicted minds, seeing that there is no happiness to be found as long as that happiness is experienced, is a samsaric experience. So continue this meditation, and then thereafter apply to others, recognizing that they are in the self-same position as we are, as the text said, just as we have fallen into the ocean of samsara, so have all others. They, like us, know only its misery. And use this as a basis then to set the determination to enter the paths of the Mahayana Dharma, to give rise to bodhicitta and become a bodhisattva. Recognizing that without generating bodhicitta, any aspiration we have to become a Buddha will never be anything more than a distant dream. And in order to be able to actually generate bodhicitta, we have to train in impartiality. So take the meditations you've been doing, add on this motivation to enter into the Mahayana paths, and then spend time on this meditation on impartiality based on what you've been doing. And here we start by looking at this how we due to the sense of self, we have mine, and therefore we are close to some, and the others we are distant from, largely indifferent towards. And then now you need to use your intelligence and use reasoning and investigate what are these reasons that you feel indifferent to so many. That if they experience some joy in their lives, that's nice, but it has very little impact. And when they experience problems and difficulties, we remain indifferent. And then there are others, of course, that we dislike. And we feel some joy when they encounter difficulties. And we need to look at the reasonings behind this discrimination and see if it's valid. And we'll come to see that, when we're honest, that the reasons why we dislike some people are really superficial. And they're so superficial, it's a bit embarrassing. We base it in dependence on exaggerating the importance of actions and words done or not done in this life. Nothing more important than that. And independence on that, another being with their own hopes and aspirations, we are dismissive towards, or maybe even dislike. We need to look at this and see, and it's quite a disturbing meditation, but we need to do it to give us the strength of mind to then start with the group that we are closest with and overcome our sense of closeness to some and distance towards others. See how this fluctuates. That sometimes we go through a period closer to some and more distant from others. And this, as you can say, as the wheel of karma rolls on, these relationships change. They are not stable. Therefore, there is no valid basis to feel distant to anyone. And then expand it out, as mentioned earlier, from those that we live with to our family at large, and then again later to our work colleagues, our community, etc. Overcoming this feeling of closeness we have merely to those who help and support us now that we remember, forgetting those who have helped and supported us in this life, and certainly forgetting about those in the past lives. And overcome this completely invalid way of thinking that those who help me now, today, are somehow worthy of my appreciation. Those who helped me yesterday I can forget about. This is wrong. And those who help me tomorrow There's no way I can say they will be any kinder than those who are helping me today. All are worthy of my appreciation, whether they are helping me explicitly now or implicitly, just going about their life, and their actions have a beneficial impact on me. That is how it is throughout our lives. Therefore, all are worthy of a sense of closeness. So it's my hope that you meditate on this every day this week. And next week, we'll build on this, because it's independence on the reflections you've been doing on the sufferings of samsara and the need to gain liberation, that you can turn your attention to others and now cultivate impartiality. And independence on this will come to the next step next week, which is that seeing our relationship with all others is that over the expanse of lifetimes, they have been our mothers. And thereafter, over the coming weeks, we'll look at the other steps here of recognizing their kindness, the need to repay that kindness, and generating love and then compassion for others. And thereafter, the mind of the altruistic attitude of universal responsibility, and then the generation of bodhicitta itself. So we'll continue with this meditation next week, but it's my sincerest hope that you will join me in these meditations every morning, and if you can, in the evening too. And in this way, gain ever stronger habituation to this way of thinking. Thank you very much.